Hello, dear friends. In continuation of the previous class, we have discussed regarding the different terminologies in the pharmacovigilance. Then we have discussed what is pharmacovigilance and what is the importance of pharmacovigilance. Now, today we will discuss about why there is a need to report the adverse drug reaction, to whom we report to adverse reaction, when to report, and the ADR reporting system in the India and how to fill the ADR reporting form from the details available in a patient's case report. Okay. So, as we have discussed, pharmacovigilance is a branch that deals with the science and the activities relating to the detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effects or any other drug related problem. Now, the question arises, why to report? Because we all know that when the drug enters into the market, the drug has already undergone the very exhaustive preclinical studies, then the phases of the clinical trial, phase 1, 2 and 3, and after that the drug is found to be safe in the animals, healthy human volunteers and the patients. Then and then only the drug is introduced into the market. Then what is the need of the adverse drug reaction reporting? Okay, then the answer is we have to establish the safety for the new drugs. Okay, that is one. And second, continuous ongoing reporting to evaluate the current therapeutic status. Okay, this is the one reason. We will discuss this in a next slide. But in the India, there is a twofold reason. The second reason is that, as I have told you, the type B reaction or the idiosyncrasy, which is purely related to the individual genetic makeup, and in India there is a vast genetic and ethnic variability. Okay, so to identify the development of a particular adverse drug reaction with this ethnic background or with this genetic makeup is also important. And as I have told you, here we are having a multimodal practices. Patient is consuming the allopathic, Ayurvedic, homeopathic, all the components, all the agents simultaneously, and even one specialist is not aware about the patient is taking the treatment for the other specialties also. Okay. So now we come back to our first question, that once the drug is approved by our regulatory authority for a particular indication and we have done exhaustive clinical trials, then what is the need to report or what is the need to vigilant about the drug for the adverse drug reaction? The answer is there are many limitations of the clinical trials that we have to take into the account while the drug or once the drug enters into the market. And first and foremost is the number of the patient. In the phase 1 clinical trial, say for example 30 to 50 or maximum 100 healthy human volunteers are included. In phase 2, few more. And in phase 3, at the max 1000, 5000. So total number of the patients are not more than 6000. And you cannot come to a conclusion based on just giving the drug to a 6000 patients and again in these patients for a not prolonged period of the time. Okay, this also you have to take in mind. So the duration of the trial, and yes, this is the very important point. You are giving the drug, you are monitoring the drug, fine, But this is an artificial environment. Artificial in terms of when you give the drug in a real life, the condition is totally different. The patient is having many comorbid conditions like hypertension, diabetes, hyperthyroidism. There is a kidney function impairment which is not there in the clinical trial. Then, because of this comorbid condition, patient is on many drugs, as I told you, polypharmacy. So, these type of the studies they are not conducted before the drug approval. So, there are chances of, and there is a very important relationship between the number of the drug prescription and the chances of occurrence of adverse drug reaction. As the number of the drug prescribing increases, the occurrence of adverse drug reaction also increases. And yes, we are not doing the phase 1, 2 and 3 clinical trial until and unless they are meant for the specific indications. Like we are doing the clinical trials in the adult population only. We are not doing the clinical trials in the pediatrics or pregnant or lactating mother or the geriatric patients. While in the real life you have to prescribe the drug to this group also. So all these will require the post-marketing studies, okay, and one has to be very vigilant about the occurrence of adverse drug reaction, and even after this phase 4 or post-marketing studies, when you continuously evaluate the drug, actually it's an ongoing procedure, okay, because many a times the pattern of the adverse drug reaction changes, the frequency of the occurrence of the adverse drug reaction changes. Many adverse drug reactions that can be noticed after so many years after its entry into the market, and that's why a continuous watch on the drug is essential. Now then the next question is, who can report? Initially only the clinicians are allowed to report to the adverse drug reaction. Then the paramedical staff like the pharmacist, nurses. Then it has been decided that okay, all the healthcare professionals. But it has come to the notice that the reporting of the adverse drug reaction is very less. And that's why, because if you can look at the statistical figures, there is an on an average 5 to 6% occurrence of adverse drug reaction, but the reporting is very less, and that's why initially the clinicians, then the paraclinical staff, and then lastly the patients are also allowed to report to the adverse drug reaction. So in one sentence we can say that even if it looks crude, but anyone can report the adverse drug reaction. But the reporting form that I will show you in the last slide, it is different for the healthcare professional and it is different for the patient. But anyone can report the suspected adverse drug reaction. Now what to report? Many times we feel that okay, there is a gastric hyperacidity with the ibuprofen, it is a very well known, so no need to report. Okay, so what to report? All types of suspected adverse drug reactions, whether it is known, whether it is not known, whether it is serious, whether it is not serious, whether it is frequent, whether it is rare, or whether there is a causal relationship. You may feel that it may be due to drug, it may not be due to drug. Forget about everything. Okay, it's not a part on your side to check all this before deciding whether to report or not. First you report this adverse drug reaction, later on at the national level, national coordinating center will decide. Okay, otherwise there are chances of missing of certain important data, and there is a no harm in reporting the already knowing adverse drug reaction. And again, as I told you, you have to report the adverse reaction not only with the drugs but with the vaccines, with the traditional medicines, pharmaceutical devices, contrast media, and any other pharmaceutical agent. So, in one sentence, we can say that any adverse effect after taking the drug, one must report. Then, how and whom to report? It should be reported to the nearest ADR monitoring center, and the government has decided that each medical college which is affiliated to the hospital must run the ADR monitoring center, and it is the pharmacology department of the institute will run this ADR monitoring center, or one can directly mail to the pvpi.ipcindia@gmail.com. Now there are different methods of ADR reporting, as I have told you, and the different countries follow the different patterns, like the spontaneous reporting, then intensive hospital monitoring, then in the UK yellow card system, and there are many more. But here we are not going to discuss all this. You just know that there are different methods of the ADR reporting, and in India we are following the spontaneous voluntary reporting of the suspected adverse drug reaction. So now we discuss about the pharmacovigilance activities was in India, and that runs under the program of Pharmacovigilance Programme of India, that is PvPI. It is initiated by the Government of India in 2010 with AIIMS New Delhi as a NCC National Coordinating Center, but later on it has shifted to IPC, Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, Ghaziabad on 2011. Now, what are the functions of this pharmacovigilance program? There are many functions. Okay, there can be a one full lecture on this, but I am just highlighting the important functions of the PvPI, that is safe, providing the safe, rational, and at the same time cost effective use of the medicines, improve the public health and the safety, and improve the patient care and safety, and lastly, which is very important, is promote the understanding, education, training in the pharmacovigilance, and not only this, but ultimately its effective communication to the public. And this last point is very important, because as I told you, initially the healthcare professionals are involved, then paramedical staffs, then even the lay persons of the patients are involved in this program, but still there is a significant under reporting. And that's why by educating, by giving understanding, by giving training, we can strengthen this program. Now, who are the stakeholders? All these clinicians, dentists, pharmacists, nurses, healthcare professionals, and when the patients are the stakeholders of the PvPI. Okay, and there are many national health programs. In India, various health programs are running, and they are also integrated with the PvPI. So, for example, the revised National Tuberculosis Control Program, it is integrated with the PvPI, and there is a dedicated staff at the National Coordinating Center and Adverse Drug Reaction Monitoring Center, AMC. Okay. Now, what is the structure of the PvPI? That, as I told you, there are peripheral ADR monitoring centers, presently 381 ADR monitoring centers which are there in the medical colleges. Then these ADR monitoring center, they collect the data. They can directly report to the national center or they can consult the zonal center also. There are various zonal centers, like for the north zone there is the Ghaziabad, then east zone Kolkata, then south zone Chennai, then west zone Mumbai, and then there are additional two zonal offices in the Ahmedabad and the Hyderabad, and finally the National Coordinating Center at the IPC Ghaziabad. Here this center, it will collect all the suspected adverse drug reaction reporting forms, the data, they will analyze the data, they will do the causality assessment, then they will come to some inference, and then they will submit this inference or data to the WHO Uppsala Monitoring Center, and at the same time, here I have not mentioned, but the function of the National Coordinating Center is to come to some conclusion. Okay, say for example for this drug there are these few reports of adverse reactions reported, so a drug alert has been issued. Then second, that this drug should be cautiously used in this particular age group, like that. Now all this inference that come based on the data, the National Coordinating Center will submit to the CDSCO, that is Central Drug Standard Control Organization, and this is the regulatory body at the New Delhi, and this body will decide that okay, now this drug alert has been issued, or this drug indication has been changed, or this warning has been changed, and again dissemination of this data to the various healthcare professionals, again it is a duty of the National Coordinating Center. So you come to know that there is a very important role of the National Coordinating Center. But these National Coordinating Center cannot function without the help of the peripheral ADR monitoring center, because if the quality data, detailed data is not available regarding the suspected adverse drug reaction, it is very difficult to come to any particular conclusion. Okay, and that is why reporting of suspected adverse drug reaction is must. So at your level it is not necessary to go into the finer details. I have just adapted this picture from the website of Pharmacovigilance Programme of India, Government of India. Here you can see that healthcare professionals and the patients, they can report to the ADR monitoring center. ADR monitoring center, they can directly report to the National Coordinating Center, that is in IPC Ghaziabad. Peripheral ADR monitoring center, they can contact the zonal and subzonal offices. This National Coordinating Center, it will report to the Uppsala Monitoring Center, but any drug alert or warnings or precautions, they come to know based on this collected data. National Coordinating Center communicate to the CDSCO, and CDSCO, Central Drug Standard Control Organization in the New Delhi, it will come to some regulatory measures, and that CDSCO will inform to the National Coordinating Center, and CDSCO directly consult with the pharmaceutical industries, various professional bodies and immunization programs. So this is the functioning organogram of Pharmacovigilance Program in India. And this is the suspected adverse drug reaction reporting form. Okay, that the healthcare professional has to report in this. Then you will obviously tell that, sir, we cannot see anything in this. Okay, so you just focus on these red lines. There are 4 segments. One is the segment related to the details of the patients, then segment related to the suspected adverse drug reaction, then the segment related to the suspected medications, and last one is the segment related to the healthcare professional who has reported this reaction. Okay, and on the back side of this page, the details: what to report, when to report, how to report, which are the criteria for the serious adverse drug reaction, whom to contact. All these has been given on the back side. Don't worry, we will discuss how to fill up this adverse drug reaction reporting form, because here you can see that there are many details one has to fill, but that we will see in our next lecture. And again, that there is a specific form for the patients also. Then a question comes to your mind that how a patient can fill the form which has been narrated in the English language. But dear friends, there are forms for the patients available in the vernacular language, that also I will show. So in next class we will discuss about how to fill up this adverse drug reaction reporting form, how to do the causality assessment, which is very important in the pharmacovigilance. So dear friends, if you have liked this class, then please subscribe to this channel and press the like button and share this class amongst your colleagues. And in the next class we will discuss about how to fill this ADR reporting form and the causality assessment.